Welcome to the Published and Paid podcast, where we share book, business, leadership, and life lessons in 20 minutes or less to help you build a thought leadership brand and business. My name is Jasmine Womack. I'm a former middle school language arts teacher turned seven-figure entrepreneur, and I am glad that you are here. Let's get started. All right, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Published and Paid podcast. And I'm really excited for today's episode because today we're going to be talking about stepping into your story with Taiia Smart Young. And I'm just so excited for you all to meet her. So Taiia, please introduce yourself to our audience. Let us know who you are, who you be, what you do.
Thank you so much, Jasmine. I'm so excited to be here. I am Taiia Smart Young. My clients call me Coach T, and I am a book coach and writing consultant. And I'm going to add story strategist to the title as well. And I have been editor for 20 something years. Like I had spent my career in magazine publishing and digital journalism. And so that's where I really got into the behind the scenes of the business and started learning really about story strategy, creating story, creating messages, creating packages. And then fast forward after 3 layoffs, it was like, how do I use what I have to do this for myself? And so that's how I ended up becoming an entrepreneur.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. And for those of you all who are not familiar with Taiia, you will be familiar with her by the end of this podcast. And I also would like to say that Taiia is an amazing member of Impact Universe community. She came through the Author Made Easy bootcamp and then came over into the mastermind. I have a question for you because you have a background in writing, in journalism. You help to write and publish magazines professionally.
Yeah.
How was that different from writing a book?
I think the biggest difference is that when you're putting a magazine together, you have all these different sections. So you have all these people who are responsible for various pieces. So with a book, yes, you have a similar thing because you have different editors. Maybe you need a copy editor, your developmental editor. But when me, as the person that's working with the client, it's just me. Right. When I started, it was just me. Now I have an assistant and I have some contractors that I work with. But in the very beginning, it was just Coach T helping them figure out their cover, getting them to get it formatted, teaching them how to purchase their ISBNs. So there was a lot of similarities. So that made me less scared, I think, in terms of venturing out. But the very first thing I did was, you don't know something, you need to go learn it. And so the very first thing I did was I spent $500 on this self-publishing course. It was like a one-off course. And I just needed, because I didn't know how to purchase ISBNs. There was a lot of things that I didn't know. So I was like, okay, let me just fill in the gaps of what I don't know. And I spent my very first $500. I was laid off. So I needed all coins. But I was like, if I'm going to do something, then I need to be able to invest in myself. So I'm really delivering the best that I can for the clients, because I'm like, I don't want to be the person that doesn't know and you just behind the scenes, Richard Pryor in The Wiz, and you pull the curtain back and you see him back then. You're not really The Wiz.
And here's the thing, I can't release names, but I have met
You've been in that situation.
met so many quote unquote book coaches that have never written a book.
Yeah.
And if you've never published a book. And it's just like, how are you coaching anybody to do anything that you have not successfully done yourself? It's just that level of integrity. Yeah. So you were laid off and you invested $500 into a self-publishing course. And so what was your first book about?
My first book was actually for teen girls. It was called Famous: How to Be the Star of Your Show, a teen girl's guide to embracing her fabulous self. And I thought that I was going to be like the auntie to the young ones and be in that space. And it became, after I published that book, people had a lot of questions about why it didn't look quote unquote self-published. And I was like, oh, because I know how to hire an editor. I know how to hire a photographer. Like the things that I took for granted that I knew how to do, right?
Yes.
These were the things that people were asking about. So it morphed from me being thinking, oh, I'm gonna be in this teen space and this teen empowerment coach kind of thing to no, you're actually going to be a book coach and, a self-publishing coach and a writing consultant. That's where it moved to after I started getting all of these questions. But Jasmine, the thing that I didn't realize, and I realized it after getting into your program, is that I'm still selling that book till this day. Right.
Because I'm sitting here, ma'am, I have a 12-year-old daughter. I need that book for her.
Yes, ma'am. We will get you a copy. The thing that is crazy is that when I published that book and I'm telling people about it, doing my marketing or whatever, there was an administrator of an all-girls school. She was like, "Do you have workshops to go along with the book?"
Mhm.
I'm not gonna say no. Mind you, I had 0 workshops. Okay, 0, none. I was like, "Yes, I do. I actually have a workshop series." And the administrator was like, "Okay, great. So send me a proposal." And that was my very first time getting paid more than just the $20 for the book, right? I got paid 4 figures to do a workshop. And I never had that connection before. Oh, I can build something off my book. I
Yeah.
just was thinking, oh, I'm going to sell the books. But as I learned in the mastermind and as I learned in the boot camp, that's not the way to your coins. You got to build something off of the book.
And you just shared so many gems because people will have opportunity right in front of them, right?
Mhm.
But because they don't have something already created, they'll say, "No, I'm not ready." You better say yes. And that's what you said. She asked you. You didn't have anything, but you said, "You know what? I actually do."
Yes, yes, because
And
what I'm
then
good
you
to
went
do
and
is create
created
it.
it. And
Yes,
then you went and created it. And so in essence, you really pre-sold for a workshop series
right.
that you can then repurpose and conduct over and over again. So for all of you all listening, one of the things that you all are going to learn is that sometimes the doing and the action is actually what's going to expand your brand and your business. And I know because you're a writing coach, and I know that you see this a lot too. So many times people try to have the whole entire plan in place from A to Z before they
Yeah,
make a move. And that's just not reality.
yeah, and I'm doing a workshop today on the same book. So that book was written in 2015. It's now 2024. I still sell the book and the workshop associated with the book. There is a slide in the workshop that says most people who are doing something great or after something great, they start before they're ready.
Mhm.
That's the message I'm giving to the young ladies in the workshop. But that's really a message for us as well. Because if I had said no, or if I just backed away from the opportunity, I wouldn't have even had the thought to create a workshop that I'm still selling today. That wouldn't have happened. And it's funny because I got the opportunity to do this workshop with the young women because of a post that I had done on social media.
Mm.
And somebody saw it, slid in my DMs. It was actually I think she's the vice president of this nonprofit. She saw it, slid in my DMs, and was like, "Hey, I need this for my girls." Okay, say less. We got it. Right? I'm showing up. Tell me what you need, and we are
For
going
this
to.
workshop today?
Yeah, this was my 3rd year, I think, working with them.
Mhm.
And so this
Okay.
happened 3 years ago. Vice president saw the post, slid in my DMs. And
Yeah.
so again, stuff that I learned inside the mastermind and in the boot camp, like to be able to stay in contact with people, or as you would say, stay in their face,
Stay in
stay in
their face.
their face,
Stay in their face.
stay in their face, right? And so I send them an email like before I know that they're going to start doing their planning for the summer. And I'm like, hey, I would love to make sure that we get the workshop on the schedule and work with you again. And
Yeah.
they're always like, yes, let's do it. So,
Asking for what you want, letting people know what you do and asking for what you want.
yes,
Okay, so you have this professional career in
uh,
writing, in
yes,
publication, in journalism.
yes.
You got laid off, spent $500 for a self-publishing course, and then you published your book for teen girls.
Mhm, mhm.
So that actually opened you up to being a writing coach because people were like, "Your book doesn't look self-published.
Right.
Can you help me?" Did
Mhm.
you find the connection between journalism and self-publishing when you started helping others to self-publish, or you started coaching others through that process?
In the very beginning, I think because self-publishing, there wasn't the amount of tools that are available now to
Yeah.
really make you look great. I wasn't even thinking about it, to be honest. So when I got into it, that's when Create Space was popular, right? And so
And folks
now,
don't know how easy they have it now, 'cause back in the day, like about 10 years ago,
yes.
it was a different story.
Right. You can now order you can do short print runs. Let's say, oh, I only want 200 books or whatever. When I got into this, I believe I had to order 1,000 books as my minimum for my print run. And that was in the early days, right? So my husband was like, you better have a plan to get these books sold, because what we're not going to do is have these boxes all in the living room in the apartment, right? So I had to figure out how to sell them, and part of the way that I was selling them was to schools. There's one school, a middle school in Brooklyn, that they bought, I think they bought like 300 books because they wanted to give them to all the girls in their school. And so that was how I learned how to sell them. Okay, we're going to sell these books in bulk. But at that time, I didn't really know what I was doing, but I was piecing together, okay, this seemed to work.
Mhm.
Somebody expressed interest, and I made it clear, if you buy more than one, if you buy 20, if you buy 30, you're going to get a discount,
Yeah.
right? So if you buy 300, you're definitely going to get a discount.
And so now you're building your brand on social media, right?
Mhm.
And you began high ticket coaching. What
Mhm.
inspired you to go into high ticket coaching and working with clients on a high level?
Because I was getting requests to work with people. And in the very beginning, Jasmine, I was undercharging like crazy. I had all of these clients and I was burnt out. And I was thinking, because I was new to the industry of self publishing, that I had to undercharge so that I would get people
Mm.
interested. And instead of thinking, you're not new to editing, you're not new to writing, you know how to do this, you know how to help someone tell a story. Instead of leaning on that strength, I was coming from a lack mindset of, oh, okay, I can only charge them $1,800 for this package. That included their editing, their cover, their interior formatting, their copyright, their ISBN. I wrote the synopsis for the back. I was over here like juggling all the things and just tired and didn't understand why. And so getting into high ticket really changed things for me, because it was like, oh, I don't have to do things that I don't want to do. I can teach them how to do it themselves. I can do it done with you. I can do it done for you. But if it's done for you, now this is a premium service that you're getting.
Right.
Right.
No, I've been there. I get it. I get it.
That's how I ended up getting into high ticket and realizing that I was overworking myself
Mhm.
and that there was an easier way. And again, going back to investing in yourself, right? We go and we get these college degrees, and then you can't come from the space of, I got a PhD but if you don't know this particular thing, you have to go and now pay to get the knowledge. You have to
Gotta learn.
put yourself in the rooms with the
Mhm.
people who have the expertise.
Yes, you've gotta upskill, and we talk about that often.
Mm,
And because I think you and I both work with a very high caliber person,
mhm.
people who have a lot of experience or expertise in educational levels,
Mhm.
there is this air where it's an air or
Yeah.
even sometimes a level of arrogance, let's call it what it is, and I can say it because I got the degrees, I got alphabet soup behind my name, so I can talk about it.
Come on,
That
Dr. Womack.
that, "Oh, because I've done this or because I can write, I don't need a writing coach." Oh, we're about to get into that. Or because I'm already educated, I can figure this out for myself. And
Mhm.
when you are writing a book to grow your brand, to grow your business, there are different strategies, there are different tactics that
Yeah.
you have to learn that you're not gonna learn. So let's talk about that for a moment because, again, I know that you encounter this as well. When you have highly educated people or
Mhm.
people who feel like they are naturally
Mhm.
skilled. You already know where I'm going with this.
Yep.
At naturally skilled or gifted writers. I've got my master's degree, I've written papers, I've done this, I've done that, I got my doctorate degree, or I'm just a good writer. I
Yeah.
don't need a writing coach.
Mhm.
What would you say to those people? Like, why do they still need the help and the assistance and support of a writing coach and consultant?
Because we are the experts and we have done the work and we have gotten the results. So I always try to think of it this way, like when I go to the doctor, just because I was surfing on WebMD and I Googled a few things, that doesn't mean when I go in there that I'm the expert in the room, right? The doctor is the expert in the room. So I'm going to share what I know, but I'm going to defer to the doctor to tell me the best outcomes for what needs to happen. And that's what I feel like what happens when what should happen when you get people who are very educated or very successful in the room, they want to tell you how to do it and what's going to happen. I had a person tell me over email, I'm just not used to people telling me what to do. I tell people what to do. And I was like, at your job and at your place of business, yes, you do. But now you're working with me and I'm going to tell you the best thing to do. Because a lot of times what happens too is that people don't make that connection of, oh, let me write a book that enhances my expertise and or a book that I can grow, or as you say, what's beyond the book. A lot of times I've had people come to me and it's, let's say it's a very professional woman. She might even be a therapist. She might be a doctor and she's had a bad divorce. I have had people want to write revenge books. And I'm like, what? I was like, that's for your journal. Okay.
Right.
That's for brunch with your girls. That is not the book that you're going to write. Because how is that going to make you any better? How is that going to further establish your platform? It's not. It's not.
Right.
So why do that? And I've had to talk women off of the ledge. So I'm like, okay, so this discovery call is really got to get you to the next place.
No, I get it. I remember one of the first multimillionaires that I was working with. Amazing, amazing, successful CEO, business owner in the government contracting space who had a lot of people who looked to her for business acumen because she
Mhm.
was constantly speaking on stages about business development and entrepreneurship, but she
Mhm.
wanted to write a journal. She
Yeah.
wanted to create a journal that was like a devotional. And I was like, ma'am, no.
Yeah.
No, like, that's not going to align with what you're already doing. You're already
Yeah.
running the business. You're literally speaking on stages every single month about entrepreneurship and business. You need a book that is going to enhance or accompany the work
Mhm.
that you're already doing,
Yeah.
not something that is a passion project,
Yeah. And
you
again,
know?
that's for your friends and your besties or whatever. That's not to get clients. If your goal is to get clients, then you're writing the wrong book.
Let me ask you something. Do you
Yeah.
feel like it's more difficult for highly educated people to be coachable?
The answer to this, no. I think so because it takes a certain amount of surrender
Mm,
to let go of the
and
fact.
vulnerability.
Yes, they need to let go of that because I find that they will now try to not tell you the hard part of the story. I'm not saying stay stuck in there. I'm saying that people are going to learn from what I call your struggle story. They're going to learn from those mistakes that you made because, okay, now you're teaching them how to, let's say, for instance, send your kids to school without debt. And so we need to know what happened. Like, what mistakes did you make before you were able to show them, okay, here's what you do to be able to show your people how to graduate from school without being $500,000 in debt. That's an exaggeration, but
So step into your story. We're inching there because we're talking about helping experts to step into their story,
yes,
and that requires vulnerability.
yes.
It requires honesty. It
Mhm.
requires a willingness to learn.
Yeah.
And so you wrote your book, Step Into Your Story,
Mhm.
and the author made easy boot camp. So tell us about Step Into Your Story and what inspired you to write it.
Sure. Step into your story was really, I had the concept for the coaching program first, right? So I
Mhm.
was one of those clients that had something at first, but really didn't have this cohesive package. So I think that for me, that was one of my greatest benefits from being in the Author Made Easy bootcamp. Because when I was at Publish and Paid Live, there were two options. And I remember there was a slide, and I think you said from the stage, you'll know where you belong, right? For either Author Made Easy or the Mastermind. And I was like, yeah, I think I belong in the Author Made Easy because you were like, you need to start with your book. And even though I had a book previously, it wasn't the book that I was trying to now move into the new space with. So going back to the actual Step Into Your Story book, it was like I had this coaching program, no real name for it, but now me creating the Step Into Your Story book, it's now, okay, it's the book, and now the coaching program, right, is based off of the book. And what I hope to move into is now creating a course that's based off of the book. But the whole thing is like focusing on three specific areas, like positioning yourself. Okay, let's take up space as an authority, right? And we need to prepare yourself to be out here and to be talking to people on social media. And then we need to propel yourself. What are you going to do after this book is out here and published? Because again, you're not going to just make the money off of selling one book to your line sister, right? In Arkansas, and to your auntie in North Carolina. Like, we need bulk.
Okay. And so you were already a published author and
Mhm.
you had this experience, but
Mhm.
you still, like we were just talking about, you had a level of expertise, but you still chose to hire a writing
Mhm.
consultant. You chose to
Mhm.
hire me and,
Yeah.
and join the Author Made Easy Bootcamp. What made you hire someone to help you, even though you had already written and previously self-published your own book?
Oh, that's an easy answer because I was like, Jasmine got the sauce. Like, I have been following you for a while. And I think that's a credit to you is that you always came off as here's what I've done, here's what my clients have been able to accomplish. And again, going back to realizing that there was a gap. I was humble enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna get in a program and I'm gonna write a book just like everybody else is gonna write a book. I never came into it. I got a book already and I'm already an expert. Like, no, every coach needs a coach if you're gonna get to the next level. And so it was an experience for me to now be alongside other experts and coaches who are writing their books because what ends up happening is that you build this community, right? So you've curated your community so well that there are people like I get texts from, we have group chats, and we're like, what you doing? You want to co-work today? And so those things really do help you to continue the process of growth.
And one of the things that I noticed about you is that you really locked into others in the community. Like,
Mhm.
y'all are like besties. But when it comes to your book, Step Into Your Story and being willing to learn, when you came into the boot camp, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe you made your full investment back within 45 days.
Yes.
What strategy did you implement to make your investment back before your book even came out?
It was the low hanging fruit, which I had never done before. And I was like, okay, is this really going to work for me? And I still use that strategy. Like, I use it as a secret offer for people who are already on my list or people who've expressed interest in working with me, but they hadn't fully committed in the past. And I'm like, hey, I have this opportunity. And I just converted somebody the other day with that. I was like, listen,
At what price point?
2,500 with the inflex payments, it's more than that. Yeah.
So you came into the Author Made Easy Bootcamp. You made a full return on your investment, which was a
Mhm.
5-figure amount before your book even came out. And
Mhm.
then you actually started going through the content. So I know that you had previously gone through a course. How did the content in the Author Made Easy Bootcamp help you to amplify your book?
Oh, first of all, there is so much in that portal. You can really be intimidated because there's so much in there, but you just have to just sit to yourself and say, okay, I'm going to devote, you said to give yourself an hour every day. And so if I had an hour, I would give an hour. If I had more, I would give more. But you really do have to say, I'm going to go through this, but then also implement while you're going through it. Because a lot of us, we love to purchase a course, we love to get in the program, and we don't do anything. We might
Or
watch.
just watch all the modules. That's what I did. I watched. I went through everything. I watched.
But you're like, no, actually now take this and do it. And that one of the first things was the low hanging fruit strategy. And you gave what I love is that there are examples. So it's very detailed in terms of here's a video that you can watch about something, but here's a template. Here's how a client did it in the past. And so you have a couple different examples because a lot of times too, what we like to do is, oh, that's not going to work for me. And it's how do you know if you don't even try it? And so I was like, okay, let me just figure out. I had my little Google sheet. I was like dropping these names in the Google sheet. And then I had my dates for my first email, dates for my second email, dates for my third email. And then I'm like, we're going to have to get on a call. We're going to have to see why you're not responding. But having all of that content in the portal, and it was set up in such a way that it was outlined clearly that it felt like a path, like a roadmap. It wasn't like, okay, I'm starting at A and then next week is Z and then we're down here on D. It just felt like it was A to Z, but it was a very structured program that you can complete and that you can, okay, let me learn how to do this. Okay, I need to learn how to get a copyright now. I need to learn how to do this. You can absolutely learn how to do the things as you're progressing.
Yes, and so even with what you're doing, Step Into Your Story in your book, now you're branching off and you're creating workshops. I
Yes,
think you just delivered a commencement speech.
I
You
did.
you started ghostwriting for
Yeah.
others. So let's
Mhm.
talk about that. Like, how did your business actually begin to expand as a result of your book?
As a result of the book, it was like having cohesive message really helped me because before, like I said, I had the coaching program, no book, not really understanding how to talk to my audience, not having this specific message of step into your story and what this is. And then it was just like creating these things because now I have the step into your story. It's like a 3-week boot camp. I have that, which now leads into another program. So learning how to do those kinds of things and then being able to say, okay, yes, I am a ghostwriter. And what I just realized from your question was I had ghost written in the past. Right. So for traditional publishing. So for traditional publishing, I had done like maybe a chapter in somebody's book or something like that, or maybe just a couple chapters. You get paid this little bit amount, right? Because you're the subcontractor and the person gets the big check. But they're like, okay, I need you to write this. And so you might get like $300 or $500. But now when I'm pitching and I'm pitching to an executive, right, it's a package that starts at $20,000
Yes. Yes.
because we can now figure out what your leadership story is, how long we're going to work together. Because what happens is you find out that these executives, they want the world and they want it done in 3 days. And it's like your calendar is busy. You flying off here, you got this thing that your product that you're launching. And so you don't have all this time. And then even being able to learn inside of the program that, okay, maybe this person is more suited for a done for you
Right.
versus you need to go ahead and take the project over. And now that's a higher investment. If you're just going to take the project over, you're going to work with them to do the interviews and get the story. But now you're going to now take care of everything else so that they can go off and be great, do the product launches, travel, whatever they need to do for their business.
Exactly. And I remember when we put that package together
Yeah.
and you were successful in selling it as well, that it was a $20,000 ghostwriting package. And then you were like, listen, I should have charged more.
Yeah.
So let's talk about that because when you are creating packages, how can you determine whether or not you actually need to increase your rate?
I think depending on how long the person is going to be unavailable or available to you. I think there's a level of difficulty sometimes with certain clients. And I don't want to say you got to charge for that difficulty, but it's you do because clients will end up stringing you along, right? They might say, okay. And then the next minute you can't get them on the phone for 3 months to start the project. And so these things can
Mhm.
cause delays for you.
Mhm.
And they end up being financial delays as well. And so it's okay, I need to get this person on a retainer so that they are now the cash is coming in even if they haven't started it 3 months later. I think too, sometimes when it's the subject matter And if you're ending up doing a lot of research as well, if it's outside of just the interviews and now you have to do some additional research, that needs to be
All
that's
that had to be accounted for.
yeah, because now you need to now, if you can't do it, you need to have assign it to a researcher to do. Thank goodness we have tools that can transcribe. But back in the day, when I first got into magazine, there was no otter, right?
Mm.
So when I was a assistant editor, actually when I was an editorial assistant, the editors used to give us the interview and we had to sit there and listen and transcribe it,
Mhm, and
right?
write it out.
And
Mhm.
write it out. But then you also have to figure out now when you're doing these packages, and I learned this from you. Oh, all your tools that you have to pay for, those things have to be accounted for as well. You have your otters, you got your Zooms, your Restreams, whatever. All of these tools are making it easy for you to do your job, but they cost as well, right? If you're
Yep.
not going to go and fly and you need to meet in person with the client. So let's say, because sometimes I'll do VIP weekend as part of the package. And so if I'm there and I'm getting some like in-person interviews, now you got flight, you got hotel, you got to eat while you're there. If you need a rental car, all of
And
the
time away from your family.
time. That's one thing that I remember you saying. This is time away from your family. And I never used to think of it that way, but it is. It's time away from your family and the things that you would normally do at home, whether it's cooking, whether it's seeing your children off to school or after school. If you're taking care of a parent, you're not there to do that. So now maybe you need to hire somebody to come in and to do those things, right?
Mhm.
Like when I'm gone, my sister always says, tell me what, and my mother is a spicy senior. My mother works. My mother goes to her karaoke happy hour, but I'm also my mother's like assistant on the low, right? And so my mother will be like, I need breakfast. So if I'm not there, my sister will be like, you spoiling her, you ordering breakfast. You gotta act. Right? So when I'm gone, I
Your
can't
sister
order
has to do it.
breakfast. She was like, she got an app, she got DoorDash, she could get breakfast.
That is too funny. So listen, I know that you have been married to
Yes.
how many years have you been married?
This year will be 26.
26 years.
Yeah.
So how have you balanced or managed marriage and prioritize your marriage while being an entrepreneur?
Oh, it's hard. We've have had discussions about this, like feeling like the business was prioritized over our relationship or our family. And so I had to really check myself and remember that there's a time and place for everything. Like, I need to be able to make sure the date nights are happening. We're still going out. Like, one of the things we were just talking about this morning was like, it's Thursday. There's movie night. It's free movie night in the park. Are we going to check out this free movie tonight? What do we need to do? We need to load up the cooler and he's off today. And so it's okay. We can spend some time together. I was like, I know you got your podcast because you got a full face on and all this kind of stuff. It becomes a family affair too, which I really like because I had on this like red polo at first, and my son was like, "You look like Jake from State Farm." I was like, "Y'all really be killing my self-esteem early this morning." He was like, "No." So I end up this pink shirt, and he was like, "Yes, this
The
is
pink shirt is cute. It's really
Thank
cute.
you."
It's really cute.
Like, all you need is some khakis because you look like Jake from State Farm. But having it be
Them, they be the worst ones, man.
yes.
Listen.
Yes, but prioritizing the relationship and making sure you're doing the things so that the other person doesn't feel neglected. But I have been blessed because my husband has been super supportive from the first layoff to the third layoff, right? Even
Mhm.
to now, he's been super supportive. One time I was getting ready to do a workshop and I had ordered a set of books to come in and they stole my books. I knew they would, yeah, they saw that box Amazon, they saw that box from Amazon and they thought they was getting something good. And it was nice and heavy. I know they were like, oh, it's something good in here. They stole my books. And my husband was like, okay, he was like, I'm just pay for this new set of books because you got stuff to do. And so it's things like that make me so appreciative to be able to have the support. Cause I know some people don't have it. It's what are you doing? Why are you over there playing on your computer? Where's the money from that? But he's been super supportive and that has been a great thing. And my son too.
Mhm.
My son, like I said, my son did my brand shoot photos or whatever. And he's been my assistant when I didn't have a virtual assistant. He would proofread my slides. He did my initial research for high schools when I was starting
Mm,
to high schools. I was like, okay, this is what I need. I need you to get every high school in Brooklyn, Manhattan, Queens, Staten Island. And he did it, put it in a Google sheet for me, put the contact. And this is what you
so
do
great.
before you can get to where you need to be. You got to use
Yeah.
everybody.
Yeah, and it's so great that your family is a part of it. And I know that you see the messages on social media where all the business girlies are like, basically, ditch your man, just go live your best life. But
Yeah.
one of the things that you said, no, we had a conversation and I had to check myself. And I
Mhm.
think that level of self reflection and awareness, because there have been times when Jasmine has to check herself too, because truth of the matter is the husband doesn't necessarily he likes what I do, but he don't necessarily want the boss. He wants his wife. He wants his wife. And so you
Yeah.
gotta learn how to take the boss hat off and be the wife.
Be soft and gentle. If you're out here and you always gotta like send emails and follow up with people and you gotta be stern in a certain way. And then you can't be that same way in your relationship. You want to be soft and take that off. And so I enjoy taking that part off. I
Yeah.
enjoy stepping into my femininity and being
Yes.
right. And that part of it. And so that you get to enjoy that part. And this
Listen,
nothing
I'm like, I don't wanna make a decision. With you, I don't care. You just I don't wanna make no decisions. I just wanna get in the car and ride and
yes,
relax and look pretty.
decision fatigue is real. Our
Yes.
last few best date nights have just been us getting in the car and just being like, let's drive to Manhattan. Let's see what's going on. Last summer, we found like outdoor party. It was a silent party. We saw this big disco ball and we were like, what's going on over there? We parked the car. We went over there. We were like, it's free. Say less. Okay. We put headphones on and it was like R&B music and people of all persuasions outside just having a good time. That was one of our best date nights. Just getting in the car, go. Let's
Going.
see what's going on.
Yeah,
Yeah, let's see
seeing
what's
what you
going on.
run into. That
Yeah,
sounds like fun though, for
yeah.
real.
No, that was
The vibe right there.
yes. I'm of a certain age. I gotta have experiences that's gonna feed my soul. And they were playing Luther, they were playing Crystal Waters. I was like, okay, I didn't
Oh,
expect
they playing the good music. All right, so I have one final question for you.
for
Well, maybe about 2 or 3 more final questions for you. But, going back to step into your story, you've also branched out into corporate workshops as a storytelling strategist.
yes.
So how were you able to branch into corporate trainings from your book?
I originally didn't even know that this was a possibility. So again, learning this inside of the program that okay, you can now take what you've created again from the book and now go to corporate. And so what I've realized is that there's still opportunity to create communications
Mhm.
workshops. There's still opportunity to work with CEOs and VPs if they want to now tell their story individually outside of the company. But there's also opportunity for you to learn how to communicate your story as a leader. There's people who maybe they're not familiar or comfortable with telling their leadership story, right? What in fact is your leadership story? Part of my story is I was laid off 3 times. Part of my story is I have a background in journalism. And so helping people to realize what their stories are and how they can communicate that as leaders or even in their book, that has been another great thing for me because there were so many assets that I created inside of the program that I just didn't have before. I didn't have a deck to pitch to corporate, right? I didn't have a speaker sheet for a podcast. And now I have all of these things so that when the opportunity comes, I'm not scrambling. I'm like, okay, this can be sent off really easily.
Mhm, and delegate it to someone else too.
Oh, absolutely. That part. That is what my virtual assistant is for. Yes.
So what's next for you?
What's next? I really want to dig deeper into the college students in terms of getting them to use their leadership voices via storytelling and helping them figure out what their brand story is. What I've been hearing from a lot of just friends who are hiring a lot of millennials is that some of their soft skills are lacking.
Mhm. Yep.
And so I had no idea that this was a thing. And so I was like, let me see if I can fill something that gets to that pain point for colleges and universities, and then have it be something that I can sell to them. Because it's, again, you taught us, you don't want to sell something that they're not buying, right? You want to know what the issue is. And so if that's something that employers are seeing, this is something that I can bring to colleges and say, hey, a lot of your students don't know XYZ. They don't know what their professional brand story or their personal brand story is supposed to be, or they are not good at storytelling and communicating, because you're going to need that in sales.
They text all the time.
That part.
And they text all the time, short form text.
Yeah.
No, and so when you have to talk about communicating, body language,
Yes.
timeliness, and all of those things, yeah.
Yeah.
I am we have some work to do.
And I have a 23-year-old son. So I also have, I can watch and see right up close, because his first job was working in a school environment as an office coordinator.
Mm.
And we were talking about, it was one time we were talking and I was like, no, you have to answer that email. And he was like, nah, I'm not going to answer that. Excuse me? Say what? That's not what we do. I want you to understand that you not responding to your friend via text, that's what you do there, but not in a professional setting. So you can see, right, where this is a need, because you have
Right.
to be able to communicate. I was talking to another friend and she was saying about a text that her cousin had sent to her boss. And it was just like completely inappropriate. And I was like, what? So this is a need.
Yeah. Yeah.
We are coming and get these babies together before they go out here into the professional space.
Because we're gonna have to deal with them.
Yes. Yes. And so then when you wonder, like when you get
Right.
if your assistant or your virtual assistant is like 23 or 25 and they don't have certain skills, it's because they spent their time looking down, texting to friends, and not necessarily sending professional emails, not
Right.
knowing what the protocols are. If you, who are you CCing, right? Why are you CCing certain people, and just things like that. So yeah, it's needed.
Yes, it absolutely is. And I'm looking forward to seeing you dominate in that space. I know you're gonna do amazingly well.
Thank you. I'm looking forward to it too.
So let everybody know where they can purchase a copy of your book and where they can connect with you. And do you have any final comments?
Yeah.
Anything you want to share or leave our audience with?
Sure. Okay. So first of all, you can purchase the book, Step Into Your Story, from stepintoyourstorythebook.com. And if you scroll all the way down, there's a freebie for you as well. It is a workbook that goes alongside of the book. So that's first. And then my platforms of choice, I've been leaning more into LinkedIn and having more fun there than I thought I was really going to be able to do, because we think of LinkedIn as being stuffy, but I'm finding my footing there. So LinkedIn and Instagram, and I'm Taiia Smart Young on those platforms. And then the last thing that I would say, it's one of the biggest things that I think people say, and they probably say it to you, like, why me? Why should I write this book if there are 500 books about pregnancy? And I'm like, but just because there's 500 books doesn't mean that you're not the one to write a specific book, right? What if you're writing a book about pregnancy for women over 40? What if you're writing a book about miscarriages, right? For women who have miscarried children? Like you need to find your niche and lean into that niche. And so the reason why not you is your person is waiting for you, right? The woman who has had miscarriages is waiting for you. The woman who is over 40 and becoming a mom for the first time, she's waiting for you. So that's why it's you. That's why you've been chosen and called.
Yes, yes, yes. Everyone, make sure that you connect with Taiia Smart Young on LinkedIn, Instagram, and all of the social media platforms. And Taiia, as always, it's just such a pleasure to talk
Thank
to you.
you. This is
And
fun.
thank you for coming and sharing with our audience
I
today.
appreciate it. Thank you so much, Jasmine. I appreciate it.
All right, guys. And this concludes our episode today. Make sure that you go to Taiia Smart Young and follow her on Instagram, LinkedIn, and make sure that you leave a review. If you found value in this, make sure that you share it with a friend. Make sure that you rate the podcast. and make sure that you leave a review. And if you're ready to step into your story, you can definitely connect with Taiia. If you're looking for our ghostwriting services or any type of writing coaching, and you can also check out our writing program, Author Made Easy Bootcamp, at www.authormadeeasybootcamp.com. Thank you. And until next time, peace, love, and impact.